So on section 2.1, we're going to be graphing linear equations. And so we're going to start by first looking at what our actual graphing looks like. So in this case, we have our x and y lines going this way, this way, and this way. Going this way, you have to remember these are positive numbers. Going the other way, these are negative numbers. These are positive numbers. So something that you might want to know is that this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Why does it go in that order? I am not sure, but that's how you might want to have to remember. That's how you have to remember it. So let's look at the following example. Imagine that we get something like this. 2, 3. Okay, so imagine I have something like this, where I'm drawing something, and then let's say we have a point that it's right here, and another point somewhere over here, this is A, this is B, let's say we have one somewhere in here, and this is C. And then we're asked to explain what the order pair is for each of those. So what is a coordinate? What is the coordinate for A, B, and C? So we want to know what the coordinate for each of those is. And so when we look at A, you're always going to go to the x's first and then the y. So x goes first and then the y. So the x is 1, 2, so it's a 2. And then we're going up 2. So x is 2 right here. So x is 2. And y is also 2. So my y was 2 and my x was 2. When we look at the b, same exact thing. We're going to look at the x first. So the x is 4, but in this case my y is negative 2. So same thing, x goes first, x is 4, my y is negative 2. Let's look at the other one. Same exact thing as before. We look at the x first, x is negative 2. And then we look at where it crosses on the y. It crosses it at negative 1. So x is negative 2, y is negative 1. And those are my answers. Cool. So as we're identifying points, that's how we're doing this. We're looking at where it crosses the x and where it crosses the y. Now, for the most part, about half of your problems are going to be just identifying different points. And then it switches to something where you're finally being asked to graph an equation. Now, when it comes to graphing an equation, there's a couple ways we can do this. So, Imagine that we have something like this. X plus y equals 3. So from here, what we're going to do now is, and the equation says graph, by completing the table. So we're going to complete the table. So we got an X and a Y. And let's say they give us the different values. They give us -2, 0, and 1. And then they also give us the following one. Cool. So what we're looking for and 0. There we go. So in this case, the things that we're looking for this Y, this Y, this one right here, this one right here, and this one right here. So we're looking for Y in 3 instances, and we're looking for X in 2 of those instances. What it means here now is we're just going to plug it in. When we look at the first one says X is equal to -2. So what I'm doing here now is I'm replacing this X with this -2. So I have X plus Y equals 3. I'm replacing the X with the -2. So what I did was I replaced the X with the -2 because that's what we're being told right there. We solve for Y, so we add 2, Y equals 5. So then now that I know this, I know the answer there is 5. Then when X is equal to 0, I do the same thing. I place a 0 on the X, so I got 0 plus Y equals 3. Zero, that's just nothing, so we got Y equals 3. On the next one though, what do we have here? Same exact thing. X is equal to 1. So we got X plus Y equals 3. So we're going to replace that with our X. Minus 1. So Y is equal to 2. Now with this next one, I want you to see one really interesting thing. In this case, it's not saying X is equal to something. This time we're getting Y equals 1. So instead of replacing the X, because in this case we have the Y equals 1, what are we replacing? We're replacing the Y. So we got X plus 1 equals 3. Minus 1. Minus 1. X is equal to 2. So that's why I put the 2 right there. For the last one, this is y equals 0. So I'm going to replace it with the 0. So I got x plus y equals 3. I replace the y with the 0. So x plus 0 equals 3. That's a 0, so nothing really changes. So I got x equals 3. And now I have completed my chart. So in this case, we are pretty good. And now I can graph this. So let's look at the graph. Okay, so now that we have our graph here, you might want to take a minute, just graph it on your paper. Otherwise, I don't want to show you, I don't want you to look at all the time that it took me to draw this. So once we get to this point, now we're going to start graphing it. We're going to look at the first point. And I'm going to make this red. So we're going to make this little point pink actually. So it says negative 2, 5. So I go to negative 2 and I go all the way to 5. So I go to negative 2, I go up to 5, and there it is. My first point. Let's make the second one orange. So I'm going to go to 0, 3. So I go 0. I don't move left or right because it's 0, but I go up 3. So there it is. I go to the next one. Let's make this one yellow. So this is 1, 2. So I go 1 on the x and up 2. And there it is. Now I'm going to go teal. That's 2 on the x, 1 on the y. So there it is. Now I'm going to do the last one, which is 3, 0. So that means I go 3 on the x, but because it's 0, it stays right there. And there is my graph. So now I'm going to connect the dots. And there is my solution. That's my graph. So for some of the questions, they're going to give you the equation. And then they're going to tell you to fill out the table, which is what we did right here. Okay, so imagine we're given the following problem. Identify the intercepts. So in this case, we have something that looks like this. We're given the graph. We're given the x and y. In the equation, we're not even being asked to graph it. They're just saying identify each of the intercepts. So what that means is this is an intercept. And this is the x-intercept. And this is the y-intercept. X-intercept and y-intercept. They're called the intercepts because they actually cross the x-axis. And this one is the y-intercept because it crosses the y-axis. So what we want to do here now is we want to just identify x-intercept is, once again, remember, x goes first and then the y. So my x in this case is 3 because it's not somewhere at the 1 or -1 or 2. This is just 0. For the y-intercept, it's nowhere in here on the x or y because it's not a x equals 1, x equals -1. It's actually right in the middle, so that's a 0. And the y is -1. So what you have to remember is something that it's very important for the x and the y-intercept. For the x-intercept, this is always whatever the x is and a 0. For the y-intercept, it's the other way around. The x is always a 0 and the y is some kind of number. Cool. So that's what tells you everything for the intercept. Okay, besides this having this kind of problem, the other kind of problem, it could be something like this. Find the x-intercept and y-intercept. Sorry, I shouldn't have said or. And y-intercept. Another way of saying that would be graph by finding the intercepts. So graph by finding the intercepts. Cool. So let's look at the example. 2x plus 6y equals 12. And so if we're being asked to find the intercepts, what we want to do now is we want to be able to say, okay, well, from here, I want to find the x-intercept. And so for the x-intercept, we know that in this case, when we saw this, for the x-intercept, what is the y? The y is automatically 0. So I know that in this case, y equals 0. And if I'm trying to find the y-intercept, then when I have the y-intercept, I want the x to equal 0. So in this case, x is equal to 0. So I go ahead and I plug it in. I got 2x plus 6, 0 equals 12. I got 2x equals 12 because 0 times 6 cancels out. Divided by 2, divided by 2. X is equal to 6. When I plug in 0, so in this case, what is my x-intercept? My x-intercept is 6, 0. When it comes to the y-intercept, we plug in the 0 on the x now. So what do we have? We got 2x plus 6y equals 12. So I'm plugging in this 0 on the x. So I got 2 times 0 plus 6y equals 12. I plugged in the 0 for the x. 2 times 0 cancels out just like it did on the other one. So I got 6y equals 12 divided by 6. Y equals 2. So what is my y-intercept? My y-intercept is, remember, x is always first. So 0, 2. This is my x-intercept. This is my y-intercept. So from here, if I want to graph this, now I have everything that I need because I only need 2 points in order to graph anything. So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 6, 0. So I go 6 on the x. So remember, this is my x, this is my y. So I go 6 on the x. And then I'm gonna go 0 on the x because that's a 0. But I do go up 2. So now that I have my 2 points, I can actually connect them. And that is my graph. For this last example, we're just gonna graph. Some of the questions are actually just going to say graph the problem. So they're going to say graph, and then they're going to say something like y equals 1/2 x plus 2. In this case, and actually, you know what? Let's make this a negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 x plus 2. When you get a question like this, you're just going to pick, like I said before, you only need 2 points in order to be able to graph anything like this. So we're going to pick any 2 points that we want. One thing that I will tell you is whenever you have something like this, they don't give you a table, they don't give you anything else, it's always good to say, you know what, my first one is going to be x equals 0, because that's always going to cancel out my x. So now that I have x is equal to 0, let's think about it. I have y equals negative 1 half x plus 2. When I plug in the 0, it cancels out the 1 half. So I got y equals negative 1 half times 0 plus 2. This cancels out, so I got y equals 2. So I got 0, comma 2. That's my first point. When it comes to the next one, I need to pick a different point. So remember, like I said, you only need 2. In this case, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick something that is divisible by 2 because of this 2 right there. I want something that is divisible by 2. So I'm going to say, you know what? X is equal to, I don't know, let's pick 2. Because this way, this denominator cancels out. Y equals negative 1 half x plus 2. I replace that 2 with the x, so I got y equals negative 1 half times 2 plus 2. So I got y equals, those 2's cancel out. So what I have left is negative 1 plus 2. So I got y equals 1. So my point is 2, comma 1. And like I've said, once you have 2 points, that's all you need. Because now from here, I can actually graph this. I got 1, 2. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's look at this. For the first one, 0, 2. That's 0. It doesn't move. Oops. Sorry about that. The first one is 0, 2. So 0 up 2. The second one is 2, 1. Right there. And so now I can graph this. So my actual solution is just this right here. And there's my graph. So when it comes to the problems that just ask you to graph, pick 2 points. Like I said, you can always pick x equals 0. If you don't want to pick that one, you're going to pick 1, 3, 5, negative 1, negative 2. That's fine. It will work out. And that's pretty much everything for this lesson.